Who is allowed to create art? It's definitely a trick question, but it's one that came up when I was sitting and talking to a fellow arts management alum from the AU program today at Busboys and Poets, because we are just talking about where we were with our careers and whatnot, and I brought up how I had been to my first burn and I was expecting to go to Burning Man. And actually, before I left, went to the bookstore just to see if they had any books related to Burning Man, and I found this: Enabling Creative Chaos, the organization behind the Burning Man event. And in the first chapter, there are two things that I loved, which I wanted to highlight regarding my initial question and the title of this vlog, in terms of how Burning Man is different from other events and festivals. And first, I quote, "Participants, as attendees are called, are responsible for creating rather than passively consuming the event." Then there's a whole paragraph just elaborating on it. And second, the Burning Man event breaks conventions about who can make art and how to experience art. The event encourages both artists and laypersons to create and share art. Much of the art demands audience interaction. People can taste, smell, manipulate, and alter art in ways prohibited or discouraged elsewhere. And it goes on. And so, like I said, my initial prompt, who is allowed to create art, is a bit of a trick question, but I guess the best answer would be one that we found was a constant, a relatively constant one in grad school, and that it depends. It depends on why, the context, and in an ideal world, I would think that at least organizations would be open to the opportunity of what does it mean for everyone to be someone who creates art in the community, and that there aren't artists and audience separated. It's one thing I really love about Dog and Pony DC, and I never thought about it until now, actually, and that it's very much something that at least supports a number of the principles around Burning Man in terms of inclusion and self-expression and all this. And I just wanted to put it out there because I think Burning Man, and we talked about this earlier today, it is people coming together to create experiences, artistic experiences, which they're not, for the most part, otherwise getting elsewhere. If they are, it's because it's intentional, but it's definitely not something that they're probably getting from mainstream established arts organizations and institutions. So while I think there's something that might be very scary about that question, in terms of who is allowed to create art for any artist or arts organization to ask themselves, I think there can be something very empowering when you look at the example which Burning Man kind of provides and has provided for decades, and which I can't wait to not only experience it myself, but as I learn more of the history of Burning Man and the people who have attended, to learn how it's probably influenced a lot of works out of Burning Man in ways that I might not have known otherwise, or that once I realize how those connections have carried on, it'll probably make a lot of sense, I'm sure. Or maybe not, not that it has to make sense for it to be effective. But anyway, I'm rambling at this point, so I'm going to cut it short. This post is almost 4 minutes long. But if you have any thoughts, and it doesn't even have to be Burning Man related, but just in general for any arts managers out there, or artists out there, or audience members out there, or all the aboves out there, who is allowed to create art, and the deeper conversation behind that, in terms of why are we at a place where we're even asking that question. I guess just to wrap up, one observation I personally like to make is that it's really interesting in terms of when I'm out at a club or other event where there's music and I'm dancing, and then people or friends find out that I was a dance major in college, they have this expression on their face as if to say, haha, that explains it. And I'm like, well, they didn't teach me how to dance like this. But also the further conversation I ultimately get to, in that, in other cultures, everyone sings, everyone dances, everyone tells stories. It's just something that, as a member of their community and as a person, that they do. So how did we get to a point in some predominantly Western cultures and communities where the art has become so professionalized that amateurs and everyday people don't consider themselves able to do it? So yeah, just want to put that out there. I'm sure there's other follow-up vlogs I will get to, but in the meantime, just go ahead and please leave a comment down there. Would love to hear what you think about this and what your own thoughts are, or even suggestions for further conversations, further vlogs to have about this. So thank you.